Alright, in this video I'm going to demonstrate how you're going to do a simple animation of a foxtail jump from one end to the other. It's going to be a very simple jump. Alright, so let's go ahead. This is our default foxtail rig. Okay, and the first thing that I'm going to do is to make it jump across from left to right. Right, so usually I like to keep it about 10 frames of it not moving because I want to have the anticipation before it jumps. Right, so I'm going to select over here the main controller and press S to hit and set a keyframe, and I'm going to move forward to frame 10 and then press S again to set another keyframe. Alright, usually for a very short jump, okay, it's going to last about 8 to 10 frames. So for convenience purpose, I'm going to set it to 10 frames. Okay, so at frame 20, it's going to move across to this distance. Alright, so we have this, and in between, it's going to jump up in the air. Okay, you'll notice that frame 20 it's not going down. Don't need to worry. You just need to type in 0 so that it keeps to the ground on the y-axis. Alright, so we have a simple hop. And next one we have we need another hop, the second one. So I'm going to frame 30 and I'm going to move this and shift to the other side. Okay, you'll notice that I have my auto keyframe. Okay, so every time that I do any changes to a new keyframe, it will key in for me. Alright, so here in the middle, it's going to go up. Okay, so I have one jump, two jump. The second one, same thing, I'm going to keep key 0 to keep it on the ground. 1, 2. Okay, so when you have this very rough animation set, the next thing that you want to do is to go into your graph editor and set things right. Okay, so I'm going to my 4 views, and in any of the other views I'm going to switch to graph editor. Alright, so this is the overall graph editor for my keyframes. Okay, the first thing that I want to do is to click on Translate Z. Okay, and I want this to be linear. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. Okay, and it will change to linear tangents. Right. The next thing I want to see is the consistency in the this slope, so that when it's moving from left to right, it doesn't have a sudden and dramatic change. If there's a slight variation, I'm not worried about that. Okay, so coming back to the side view, I will replay this, rewind and play. Okay, so far it seems fine. Okay, this one I might want to pull it slightly higher a bit. Just adjust a little bit. There we go. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to go to my Translate Y, which I will fix the jumping up and down. Okay, by default Maya will give you auto tangents, which means you'll get a lot of slow in and slow out. Okay, this is not what we really want to have for our foxtail. So the first frame is going to have a push to jump up. So what I'm going to do is that I need to break the tangent. Okay, so right click on here and break tangents. So with this, I can select the tangents independently, and I will shift this to adjust, and you can see that the other tangents over here is not affected. The next one that I'm going to do is to straighten this part, so I have a smoother and rounder top. In doing so, I'm getting more air time, suspension in the air as the fox jumps over. The next one I'm going to adjust is the same one, the second jump, which I'm going to hit over here, which also enables me to break the tangents. So click on this and adjust this tangent right over here and move it up. Okay, so the one on the top, same thing. I'm just going to pull it to smoothen and round off the top. Okay, that's it. So if I rewind and play back, okay, I'll have this animation. Okay, so it looks fine for now. Okay, so the next step which I'm going to do is to set the tail animation. So for you guys, I have something prepared. Okay, basically I have a guide here which you can see. This is a guideline for 25 frames jump. Since I'm doing a 10 frames, I only need a few essentials. So this is the first one which I need before the jump, which is the anticipation, and this is the second one. Okay, the second most important. And the next one which I need to have is this, and this, and this, and back to this. Alright. Okay, so going back to my Maya. Alright, so the first frame which I have is going to rotate to the anticipation pose. Alright, I'm going to select all the tail controllers, press S to set the keyframe. Now going back to frame 1, I'm going to set something slightly different so that the tail doesn't go still, and it should be moving. Alright, so I have something like this, and this actually sets for a better anticipation. Okay. Alright, so the next one is the lift off, which is this. So at frame 11, I'm going to set another keyframe, rotate down, rotate down, rotate down, and up. Alright, so it's just going to hit here exactly at the ground line. Okay, so next one, actually what I want to set is the end frame, which is here, the next point which it gets in contact with the ground. So here, this pose is actually the same as this. So I'm going to copy the frames from here, okay, the poses, into frame 20. So in order to do that, in Maya there's a nifty shortcut which I can use my middle mouse button and drag to frame 20. You can see that as I drag, the animation doesn't get updated. That is why I can hold this frame and move on to the other and press S to set another key. Okay, so 10 and 20, same frame. Now the next what I'm going to do is the one in the middle, okay, roughly about here, which I can set this pose. Okay, so I'm going to rotate this to get it into the pose. Alright, so this is the middle one. I have the start, middle, and end. Okay, look looking good so far. So the next one I want to set is this. Okay, the part where I can set either this pose or this pose, but I'm going more for this. Okay, so I'm going to rotate down, and down. Okay. Okay, this is going to go up a little bit. Alright, so on to the next one. The next pose is going to be from the middle, 2 frames after, which will get into this pose. Alright, so I'm going to rotate this, going down, going up, probably going up a little bit, up, rotate down. Alright, so this is a S curve, and to the next one is going to curl up, which is going to be this pose. Alright, so I'm going to rotate this to curl up a bit more, and curl up until it gets into a C curve. Okay, so let's see what we have. Okay, I'm going to adjust this a little bit more.
Sure, can I refill water?
Okay, so I'm going to get this to here, and I'm going to just curl up a little bit more. And it should give me enough to work on. Just going to give a few adjustments here and there. Okay, this looks good so far. So, alright, since I have one set which is done, the next set which I will do is to actually copy and paste. Okay, so how I'm going to do this is that since I know that from frame 10 to 20 and from 20 to 30 is another jump, I'm going to copy and paste to the other one, to the next one. Okay, so one method which I can use is this. Okay, from here to here is 1 frame progression, and I'm going to go to this pose, middle mouse button, and go to the next one over here and press S. Right, and then for the next pose, okay, another frame progression, middle mouse button, and go to the next pose, press S. Okay, so next one is 2 frames later, go to the next pose, set keyframe. The next pose, 2 frames later, set keyframe. Okay, and then the next one. Okay, and over here. Alright, so let's play back. Now I have a very nice animation of tail jumping over. Okay, but we are not really done yet. The next thing that I want to set is secondary action. which I'm going to introduce stretch and squash. Okay. So for this, I'm going to set the keyframe. This is where I will have my stretch and squash. Okay, and frame 10, I'm going to set another keyframe, default. But at frame 11, as it jumps up, I'm going to compress. Okay, so there's an overlapping action. And somewhere in the middle, I'm going to expand. And before it touches down, I'm going to expand also. And on the touchdown, it's going back to default 0. Okay, so the next one is going to be the same. Okay, so what I can do is to use another copy and paste method, okay, which I can press and hold shift and select this range. Alright, right click and go to copy, and then go to the next frame, right click and paste. Alright, so let's play back. Okay, looking good. We're almost done. The next thing that I want to do is to have a slight tilt to it so the head is not looking too straight. Right, so I'm going to rotate, tilt down a little bit, move on to the next one, tilt down, and when it jumps up in the mid-air, it tilts up and goes down, tilting down, go up, tilt up, and going down, tilting down. Okay, so since I have my stretch and squash, I want to end off nicely and not having it to just stay still. So I'm going to continue with the stretch and squash. So over here it's going to get squash and go up a little bit and rebound back and settle back to 0. Okay, let's play back. It seems that this part is a little bit too fast, so I'm going to highlight this range and move forward by 1 frame. Okay, this is looking good so far. Now to end off, I don't want the tail to just stay there, so I want to have a bit of a secondary animation for the tail. So what I'm going to do is to copy some poses which I already have. This is one of the poses which I want to copy, so I'm going to use my middle mouse button, drag to here, alright, and press S. Okay, the next one which I want to copy is this, alright, the one with the S curve. Okay, so middle mouse button, drag to here, and press S. And the last one is to go back to the original, which is this, middle mouse and drag to here. So let's play back and see. Okay, I have some animation going on, but there's certain part which is a little bit too fast, so I'm going to adjust the timing. Okay, this part seems a little bit fast, so I'm going to select this area and shift forward select here and just shift one more frame just to give it more space. Alright, so that's all we have for our tail ball jumping from left to right. So this is the basic essentials that you will need to learn.